بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم لا سهل إلا ما جعلته سهلا وأنت تجعل الحزن سهلا إذا شئت. Sorry to keep you guys waiting. I honestly just lost track of time. Jazakallah khair for texting me, or else I would have just been distracted. Okay, so there's four things that I wrote down that we needed to talk about today. The first one being one thing that I forgot to mention actually for the previous surah. We finished Surat al-Shams, right? We had gone through all the qasams and then the jawab al-qasam of ayahs number, I guess you could say seven, or where is it? Ayah number nine, 9, 10. قَدْ أَفْلَحَ مَنْ زَكَّاهَا وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. That Allah Ta'ala says that Allah Ta'ala takes all these oaths for the purpose of emphasizing the fact that the one who purifies, their soul, that is the individual who's successful. And وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا, the one who dirties and soils his soul due to kufr and ma'siyah, then that person is in loss and ruin. Then we talked about the story of Thamud, right? As 11 to the end of the surah pretty much. That Allah Ta'ala says, كَذَّبَتْ ثَمُودُ بِطَغْوَاهَا, that the nation of Thamud, they belied the, it says, know that the people of Thamud belied the revealed truth because of their insolent transgression. Because of their transgression. إِذِ بَعَثَ أَشْقَاهَا, the most wretched of them, he rose up violently. For what? To kill the camel, as we had gone through. فَقَالَ لَهُمْ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ نَاقَةَ اللَّهِ وَسُقْيَاهَا. Then the messenger, فَقَالَ لَهُمْ رَسُولُ اللَّهِ, referring to Salih alayhi salam, the messenger of the Qawm of he says, نَاقَةَ اللَّهِ. Mansub, because why? There's a hidden fi'l, right? It's not just نَاقَةَ اللَّهِ for fun. It's like he's saying that احفظوا, make sure that you keep this she camel that Allah Ta'ala gave you as a miracle. Make sure that you keep it safe. Don't harm it. Okay, نَاقَةَ اللَّهِ وَسُقْيَاهَا, as well as its the right that it has to drink from the well or the watering hole, whatever. And then سقياها فكذبوه فعقروها. They belied this messenger. They belied her. They belied the the Prophet Salih alayhi salam, and they فعقروها. They hamstrung the beast, the naqa, and فدمدم عليهم ربهم بذنبهم فسواها. Allah Ta'ala brought wave after wave of punishment, and then eventually they were all leveled out. فسواها, like literally no one left behind. They were all just completely crushed. ولا يخاف عقباها. ولا يخاف الله عقباها. That Allah Ta'ala, he's not like he's afraid of their retribution or like any revenge that they're going to take against him for what he did to them. Now, excuse me. The thing that I forgot to mention was what is the connection between this whole qissa of Thamud and this Qawm of Thamud, and what does it have to do with the rest of the surah? It seems like this surah is in two parts, right? That it talks all about the qasams in the beginning, then the Jawab al-Qasam is like that's the first part. Then it talks about the the Qawm of Thamud. Any ideas? So this is an example of mainly, I guess you could say I number 10. If you want to say I number 9, I guess that counts too. But وَقَدْ خَابَ مَنْ دَسَّاهَا. Now, okay, the individuals who soil and dirty their souls due to their kufr and their ma'asi and all these sorts of things, they are the true losers. So Allah Ta'ala now, he gives an example of who are these losers. Here's a prime example of who the losers are, who are the people of ruin, the people of destruction. It's these individuals who, what's their main um like the main factor of their destruction of them being from this group of وَقَدْ خَابَ is because of their takdhib فَكَذَّبُوهُ فَعَقَرُوهَا. It's because of their improper i'tiqad. They had the incorrect belief regarding Allah Ta'ala, as well as their فَعَقَرُوهَا. They completely belied or they went against the commandments of Allah Ta'ala while they were on this earth. So it's two parts. It's ilmi and amali. It's i'tiqadan and fi'lan. It's due to their actual they didn't accept the message, as well as they fi'lan, they actively went against it, well, by just breaking the laws that had been set forth by Allah Ta'ala and His Messenger. Okay, that was the first thing, as well as the review, I guess. Now the second thing is we could try to do it a little bit different today. Instead of maybe actually, okay, no, no, we'll just do this the our normal thing, inshallah, where we go through the tarjuma and then we just explain it ayah by ayah, inshallah. So let's do that first. And then after that, inshallah, I could talk about the connections between like the, I try to point out some of like the literary benefits or like the how it kind of ties all together and all sorts of things. So inshallah, we can do that right after. So وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى. Anyone want to start? Mm. Yeah, go ahead. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى. Go ahead. Take your time. Mhm. Uh, وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى. I believe this is when the night itself manifests, like it itself becomes bright. So yani it's when the daytime comes. Like the Jalla is like it's not that it makes other things bright, it itself is becoming bright. So then the daylight is shining. Yeah. Mhm. I haven't seen that. It did come earlier in these, the in Surat al-Nazi'at when we were discussing Fir'aun. And let me just see what the exact ayah was. From what I read, it's basically, I think both Jalalain and Tasheel, they both just mention amalakum. Inna sa'yakum ay inna amalakum. Inna amalakum mukhtalifun. Yeah, all your your actions of the actions of different people. They all have different maqsads. All these different all people have like different objectives, which is what they're saying. I don't know if I don't know. I don't think sa'yakum is intended to be you. Yeah, sin ainya sa'yakum. Because if as for the one, for amma man, as for that individual or those individuals who man a'ta wattaqa, it's not talking about like a specific person, right? It's talking about, I mean, depending on which tafsir you take, but فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى, as for those individuals or for that individual who gives and fears Allah Ta'ala. Mhm. فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ. Mhm. واستغنى, istighna comes from the, okay, so from ghina being something like independence. Istighna as you guys know, the khasiyah of bab number 10 of istif'al is talabul fi'l. So basically, it's talabul ghid, meaning this guy, he deems himself to be independent. Yani independent from Allah Ta'ala, which we'll get into. So, وَأَمَّا مَنْ بَخِلَ وَاسْتَغْنَى وَكَذَّبَ. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, they think we could. فَسَنْيَسِرُ الْيُسْرَى وَمَا Yeah, okay. We'll stop there. من بخل واستغنى كده فسنيسره اليسرى وما يغني. Yeah, okay. So that was ayah 1 through 10. Okay. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى. You said Allah Ta'ala is taking an oath by the night and when it إِذَا يَغْشَى, when it covers, when it overwhelms, when it completely overtakes. Now you'll notice that there is no مفعول به. Okay, so this, why is it no maf'ul bihi idha yaghsha? What is this? What is the layl doing ghashi of? So if we notice, right, in the previous surah actually, والشمس وضحاها والقمر إذا تلاها والنهار إذا جلاها والليل إذا يغشى or يغشاها. So the surah is almost expecting you to have read the previous surah, and inshallah we'll talk more about that after at the end, where we talk about the connection between the two. So وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى, but يَغْشَاهَا is in Surah Al-Shams, but over here it's وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى. No maful bihi mentioned. Why? So the maful bihi, what is it doing ghashi of? Well, one opinion is that the maful bihi is just like as it was mentioned in the previous surah, that it's referring to the sun. وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَاهَا over there was when by the night when it covers the sun. So perhaps that's the maf'ul bihi over here. Jalalain mentions, or the Hashi of Jalalain, sorry, mentions كل ما بين السماء والأرض. Yaghsha, there's no maf'ul bihi mentioned because it's supposed to be what's the maf'ul bihi in reality is everything, right? The nights pretty much covers the entire earth. I think there was one more. Where is it? Where is it at? We can say the first opinion is the Surah Shams ayah. The second opinion is an-nahar liqawlihi yughshi al-layla an-nahara. Surah al-A'raf. Okay, so that the night covers the day, and and then the third opinion is even more general than that, which is kullu ma bayna as-sama'i wal ard, literally everything on this earth, the night comes and overtakes it. وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى. mm, وَالنَّهَارِ, and by the daytime when it shines out, when it itself becomes bright, أي ظهر وتبين, when it becomes clear. وَالنَّهَارِ مِن طُلُوعِ الشَّمْس. So the word nahar is used for when the sun has completely risen. I believe what's being intended is the actual disk of the sun has completely come over the horizon. And then the word al-yawm, what's the difference between nahar and yawm? Well, yawm min tulu' al-fajr. So this is when although the disk of the sun hasn't come up above the horizon, the light is still shining through, right? So that's what you would call the beginning of the yawm. And the nahar is like when it's actually morning time. That's morning distinct from like dawn time, if that makes sense. وَمَا خَلَقَ الذَّكَرَ وَالْأُنثَى. Okay, so now there could be two possible meanings for ma, which we had discussed in Surah Shams. Can anyone remind me what those two are? We had ma bima'na. So this is where it came up in what was the ayahs. There's like three, four ayahs back to back. Where Allah Ta'ala says, um, وَالسَّمَاءِ وَمَا بَنَاهَا وَالْأَرْضِ وَمَا طَحَاهَا وَنَفْسٍ وَمَا سَوَّاهَا. And then we said there's two different meanings for ma. Mhm. No, how would we translate? I think that's how you translate it. And by the one who has created men and women, or male and female. And then what was the other one? Ma bi ma'na. No, no, no. Ma masdariya. Ma masdariya. This ma masdariya is basically showing that it's highlighting as Sheikh Sabuni says. You see it? Where'd it go? Okay, I forgot where I read it, but over here. أو والقادر على خلق الذكر والأنثى. من Okay, meaning the masdariya is basically emphasizing the amazing creation, the ta'ajjub. It's emphasizing the ta'ajjub aspect, saying that, and by the creation of the by the amazing creation of the men and women distinct. Okay, now this is where I wanted to talk about the whole transgender stuff and the whole transgender movement that's sweeping the nation. I think I'll also save that for the end because I have a feeling that's probably going to be the longest one. So we'll see how time plays out, inshallah. Okay, so وما خلق الذكر والأنثى. Okay, so ma بمعنى man, or it could be the ma could either be man as you had translated it, or it could be ma masdariya, which is highlighting the amazing the amazing factor of this creation. The whole عاقل غير عاقل thing is saying that the reason we had to say ma bima'na man is used for those things which are aqil, those things which have intellect. And of course, Allah Ta'ala He has ilm kamil. Allah Ta'ala has perfect, complete knowledge, right? So this is why we would have to say that it's in the ma'na of man. Ma is used for things that are not aqil. Like you say, ma hada al-kitab, or ma hada um, daftar, or something like that, where you say man hada for who is that, not what is that. Okay, so that was the oh there it is right here. Okay, anyways, I already said it, but it's fine. وروي ابن مسعود أن النبي okay, never mind. We can skip that. That's a whole nother conversation. So beyond the what I had just read was beyond the seven plus the three, the 10 qira'at. There's the non mutawatir qira'at, which I don't think we touched upon when we had discussed it earlier. But that's a whole conversation in itself. Okay, inna sa'yakum lashatta. So now this is the jawab al-qasam. Okay, why were these three oaths taken in the first three ayat? It was to emphasize this point right here that inna sa'yakum lashatta. That your efforts, O mankind, they're all over the place. They're so different. It's like, you know, what does this have to do with the qasams that we're taking? Your efforts between the different a'mal that a believer and a disbeliever does, the different actions that a Muslim and a non-Muslim perform, the difference between them is like night and day. Why? وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى وَالنَّهَارِ إِذَا تَجَلَّى. The difference between them is like night and day. The difference between them is like uh, man and women. That's how huge the difference is between the a'mal of a believer and a disbeliever. Inna sa'yakum lashatta. هذا هو جواب القسم، أي إن عملكم لمختلف فمنكم تقي ومنكم شقي. There are some from amongst you who are God-fearing and those of you who aren't. ومنكم صالح ومنكم طالح. ثم فسر بقوله. So now Allah Ta'ala is going to explain what are these two different, or what are these a'mal that are shatta. Shatta is the jama of shatid. So if you check not sha, sheen ta, and then you'll be able to find it there in Hansware. Okay, فمنه حسنات ومنه سيئات وشتى جمع شتيت. Okay, فأما من أعطى واتقى أي أعطى ماله في الزكاة والصدقة وشبه ذلك. So as for those individuals who أعطى, they give what? أعطى ماله في الزكاة والصدقة وشبه ذلك. So now we see that again there's no مفعول به mentioned, which is interesting. Actually, I just like think about this right now. Didn't come up earlier either for the waleli that yosha. So you could I'm assuming that this is also, it could also have the same, like has the same benefits as we said earlier, that وَاللَّيْلِ إِذَا يَغْشَى. Now because there's no maf'ul bihi, we could apply it to everything. It's very very am. So now فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى, that then this individual who gives, it doesn't necessarily have to be money. It could also be his time, it could be his attention, it could be his other righteous causes of humanitarian work and whatnot. Then that person could also fall under this scope too, inshallah. أي أعطى ماله في الزكاة والصدقة والشبه ذلك. So over here he specifies that it's wealth. And the reason he might be specifying is because later on in the surah, وَمَا يُغْنِي عَنْهُ مَالُهُ إِذَا تَرَدَّى, as well as the sabab nuzul of the surah too. But inshallah we'll get into that. أعطى حقوق الله من طاعته. Okay, here it is. Or the one who he في جميع الأشياء. أعطى حقوق الله من طاعته في جميع الأشياء. He fulfills the rights of Allah Ta'ala. He gives to Allah his due rights, and he gives to the people their due rights. واتقوا. And he also fears Allah Ta'ala. واتقى. وصدق بالحسنى أي بالخصلة الحسنة وهي الإسلام ولذلك عبر عنه بعضهم بأنها لا إله إلا الله أو بالمثوبة الحسنى وهي الجنة. So حسنى, what is this حسنى? This person, or sorry, this could either be referring to two different things as mentioned here. That was صدق بالحسنى, he affirms the true faith. So husna is referring to Islam. It's referring to the greatest husna, the greatest husn, which is the kalimat shahada, the kalimat tawheed, la ilaha illallah, and by extension, of course, Muhammad Rasulullah. Eight Ma Muhammad Rasulullah. Yani sadaqa bil tawheed wa bin nubuwa, as mentioned here in Hashir al-Layl. Now, as for husna being in, I said two things, right? It could either be the kalima tayyiba or it could be jannah. The reason it could possibly be Jannah as well is because, as we had learned, we had discussed that qaida, right? Al-Qur'anu yufassiru ba'duhu ba'da, correct? That some parts of the Qur'an explain other parts of the Qur'an. And if we look, Allah Ta'ala says, not sure exactly where, maybe somebody could Google it. لِلَّذِينَ أَحْسَنُوا الْحُسْنَى وَزِيَّادَةً. This is, we actually mentioned this ayah before too when we were having one of our discussions. لِلَّذِينَ أَحْسَنُوا, for those people who do good, what do they get? Al-Husna. Al-Husna referring to Jannah. Okay, so Husna by pretty much all the Mufassirun, I believe, say it's Jannah. And then, so then we're applying that, Al-Quran yufassiru ba'dahu ba'da, we're applying that meaning of Husna over here as well. So the one who believes in Allah Ta'ala, wa saddaqa, he has tasdeeq, he believes in Iman, that person will get Husna. صدق بالحسنى, or it could, and then للذين أحسنوا الحسنى وزيادة referring to the what's the extra reward that a person can get on top of Jannah. We had discussed that this is going to be being able to see Allah Ta'ala in Jannah. So this came up in our whole discussion of رؤية. Okay. وقيل يعني الأجر والثواب على الإطلاق وقيل الخلف على المنفق. Not sure exactly what that is. Number 6. Okay, so number 6. And confirms his faith in the ultimate reward of God. That's what he says here. So I guess he takes the Jannah one. Okay, فسنيسره لليسرى أي نهيئه للطريقة اليسرى وهي فعل الخيرات وترك السيئات. Sorry, وترك السيئات not وترك الحسنات, of course not. فسنيسره لليسرى, we shall then ease for him in this life. We shall then ease him in this life into ease in the hereafter. We shall then ease him in this life into ease in the hereafter. I believe you had translated as we shall make easy for him, correct? So that would be correct if it was فَسَنُيَسِّرُ لَهُ فَسَنُيَسِّرُ لَهُ لِلْيُسْرَى or something like that. So if I remember correctly, I think Mulan Yusuf had actually mentioned this, as well as others where I had read it. There we go. فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. Hmm. Okay. Never mind. فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. Let me see if I could explain it how he explained it. Actually, let me just read Mufti Taqi's. Mufti Taqi mentions something quite important here. He says, where is it at? Sorry. So, for him, we will facilitate the way to extreme or to the comforts of paradise. The word yusra literally denotes ease and comfort, or a thing in which there is no difficulty, but here it refers to paradise. Likewise, referring to the second group, it says, فَسَنُ يَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى. Okay, let me just get that. We'll get to that in a second then. Every time I go to a different window, sometimes the recording stops, so I just freak out. But alhamdulillah, it's still going. Okay. فسنيسره لليسرى ومنه قوله صلى الله عليه وسلم يعلم فكل يعلم should be يعملوا, no? Is that a typo? Um, okay, we'll get to that in a second. وأما من بخل واستغنى وكذب بالحسنى فسنيسره للعسرى. Okay, وأما من بخل واستغنى, as for the person who's stingy, who's bakhil, this comes up in the hadith I believe you guys probably had to memorize last year. Al-bakhil الذي من ذكرت عنده فلم يصلي علي. that the أو كما قال عليه الصلاة والسلام, that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam said that the stingy person, the truly stingy person, is the one who my name is mentioned in front of him or in his presence, and he does not send salawat and durud upon me. So sallallahu alayhi wasallam. Okay. وأما من بخل واستغنى, أي بخل بماله, the one who's stingy with his money, أو بطاعة الله على الإطلاق, or just in general, he doesn't give Allah Ta'ala and the people their due rights, like as we had discussed before, فأما من أعطى واتقى, he doesn't do that. فيحتمل الوجهين لأنه في مقابلة أعطى كما أن واستغنى في مقابلة اتقى. Okay. وأما من بخل as opposed to a'ta, and wastaghna as opposed to ittaqa, right? You guys see how it matches up? Now, this is interesting that why use, like, how is deeming oneself to be independent the opposite of um, having taqwa? Like, obviously, it's فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى, the one who gives very freely in sadaqah and stuff, and then وَأَمَّا مَنْ بَخِلَ, the one who holds back his money. That's very obvious, right? But وَأَمَّا مَنْ فَأَمَّا مَنْ أَعْطَى وَاتَّقَى وَأَمَّا مَنْ بَخِلَ وَاسْتَغْنَى. So now you have ittaqa and you have istaghna that are mirroring each other in this sequence. So we see that one of the main ways for us to gain our taqwa is understanding that we have to have complete tawakkul on Allah Ta'ala. And over here we see that Allah Ta'ala is describing these people who are going to, as we're gonna see later on in the surah, that these are the people that are gonna be that are described as ashqa, first of all, and they're also going to be yaslan narul kubra. They're the individuals that are going to be entering into the hellfire, the huge hellfire, or naran tatalazza. So one huge aspect that Allah Ta'ala is highlighting here is that of a danger, and especially in our society as well, a danger to one's iman is thinking that a person can, they start to ascribe certain things to themselves. They think that, oh, I got this job through my hard efforts, or I was able to study and pass my exams because of all the hard work that I put in. But no, a person must realize that reliance on Allah Ta'ala is what will shoot them up in terms of the amount of taqwa that they had. Whereas a person thinking that they could do things on their own and that they ascribe their own actions to themselves and not to the permission of Allah Ta'ala, this is something that Allah Ta'ala severely dislikes. Okay, لأنه في مقابل أعطى كما أنه واستغنى في مقابلة اتقى وكذب بالحسنى في مقابلة وصدق بالحسنى. Okay, that's also very obvious. So وصدق بالحسنى, the one who believes and he affirms in the iman, as we had said, and then as opposed to وَكَذَّبَ بِالْحُسْنَى, this is the individual who is belying the kalima tayyiba, he doesn't believe in it. فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى. Okay, then for that individual will be made easy for him, or he will be made easy for um, yusra, of course, referring to Jannah and the tariqatul khair, and the usra referring to the tariqatul shar and Jahannam. So it'll be very easy for him to just fall into a whole bunch of sins, and it'll eventually end up going into Jahannam. Now, this is what I run into read from Mufti Shafi Sahab, where he says, فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى, for him we will facilitate the way to extreme distress. The opposite of yusra is usra, which literally denotes extreme distress, referring to the hellfire. So the two statements signify that those who exert their efforts in the first three acts, that is, spending in the cause of Allah Ta'ala, a'ta, fearing Allah, ittaqa, and testifying to the kalima, Allah will pave their way to extreme ease. فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى. On the other hand, those who exert their efforts in the latter three acts, Allah Ta'ala will pave their way to extreme distress. That is, make easy for them to perform deeds that will lead them to the hellfire. So, by right, here it should have been said that the deeds of paradise or hell are made easy for them. Because easy or difficulty, uh, the terms easy and difficult, they qualify deeds and not persons or people. So this is exactly what I was saying. That doesn't say fasunu yasiru lahu, it says fasunu yassiruhu. We will make him easy. We will make him easy. Lil yusra, lil usra, okay, whatever the ayah is. But the Quran says that the people or the people themselves will be made easy to do the deeds. So this probably implies that the first group will be predisposed to behave in a particular way than behaving otherwise that will make them feel uneasy. One second, let me turn my notifications off. Okay, let me just read that again. So this probably implies that the first group of ittaqa, or a'ta wattaqa wa saddaqa bil husna, these people are predisposed to behave in a particular way that behaving otherwise will make them feel uneasy. The second group will be predisposed to behave in a way that will make them feel uncomfortable, or sorry, that will make them feel very comfortable to do the deeds of the people of Jahannam, and they will feel very uneasy doing deeds of the Ahlul Jannah. So, yani, these people, of course, they're the opposites. So each of these two groups will have their own nature and predisposition, and will find it easier to behave in that particular way. A hadith of Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam confirms this and says, yeah, i'malu. In the on the other PDF it says i'lamu, which just didn't make sense. So i'malu فَكُلُّ مُيَسَّرٌ لِمَا خُلِقَ لَهُ. That perform deeds, for everyone will have the deeds of what he has created for made easy for him. Everyone will have the deeds for which what he for that which he was created for, yani becoming from the people of Jannah or becoming from the people of Jahannam, it will be made easy for him. Um, أما من كان من أهل السعادة, as for those people who are from the people of success, yani the people of Jannah, they will have the deeds of the people of Jannah made easy for them. And as for those people of shaqawa, of the opposite, of course, the people of Jahannam, they will have the deeds of the people of Jahannam made very easy for them. But both these things are a result of the use of Allah Ta'ala's ability that He has given us of free will and choice. Therefore, man is rewarded or punished. So I very intentionally stayed away from the whole free will discussion as it came up earlier in the whole what was the ayah? يوم لا تملك نفس لنفس شيئا. No, no, no. يوم لا تملك نفس لنفس شيئا. Okay, it did come up earlier, and I had stayed away from it intentionally because I don't think I I never talked about that topic before with people, so I don't want to just like this be like my trial run or something. You guys deserve better than that. Okay, but if we look at it from like, you guys are, of course, you guys sat in classes with Mufti Sab, right? And he mentioned probably multiple times that those individuals, like this, if a person commits a sin, what ends up happening is that the athar of that sin leads a person to be more susceptible to shaitan. So this is one. I'm not trying to say like this is the actual commentary on the hadith, okay? So because I want to stay away from the zahir of that discussion for now. Maybe we could talk about it another time. But we see this is very, very like, if we don't look at it from the like the free will aspect, let's if we just ignore that for a second, then I'm sure we could all agree to this that a person once they get caught up in something, then it just becomes very, very easy to do that. People that like do even like horrendous things, you could think of like the worst acts, and they just constantly do it. It's something led up to it, and then it just kept growing and growing and growing, and then they ended up just being like fully immersed in it. They don't even know how they got there. Same thing as like you see, mashallah, we at GS, or you guys have seen people of, they also started off as first years, right? They also started off as just guys that came in from high school, college, or whatever. Maybe they just came straight out of the hifs or whatever, and then they ended up being like, mashallah, people. They like we deem them, we think of them to be awliya of Allah Ta'ala. نحسبهم كذلك, but ولا نزكي على الله أحدا. Obviously, we're not like making a 100% certainty statement on that, but that's how we deem these people to be. That there's certain individuals that they also went to the same madrasa that we went to, and they are light years in front of us in terms of their amal. Even I've heard I heard the story of one of there was a student in Dora at Dar es Salaam. Okay, at Dar es Salaam, there's a student in his final year of his alim course. He was reading the entire Quran every single week during his Dora. Okay, that's tough. That's really tough. I tried in the beginning. Okay, well, lasted like 2 days, and then I was like, yeah, it's not happening. Okay, it's really, really tough that this brother was. But why did that happen? Is because you start off small, and this person has, mashallah, he's been Baband, he's been consistent on his a'mal since like way back in the beginning when he was in first year as well. And it just ends up growing and growing and growing. And then that person eventually, they end up pretty much all of their a'mal are muwafiq with what we would deem to be the amal of the people of Jannah. That all of their amal, their whole entire life is basically just ibadah of Allah Ta'ala. And of course, we see the opposite case as well. There's these people who just, although they started out, they're also Muslims in high school with us. They're also Muslims in college with us. They also did hifs with us even. They're also hafiz, right? But then what happens? They go to high school. They end up getting involved in this small thing. then it ends up becoming something a little bit bigger, and then they end up continuously doing it and doing it and doing it, and then the sensitivity goes away, right? So that could possibly be that could possibly be how we could explain the فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْيُسْرَى فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى. That eventually people just get caught up in it. People just get so desensitized to the fact that what they're doing is wrong that they don't even think of it as wrong anymore, and it just becomes part of their lifestyle, becomes part of their nature almost. فَسَنُيَسِّرُهُ لِلْعُسْرَى just becomes part of their nature to do these evil deeds. Does that make sense? As for the free will thing, um, would you mind sharing that if you can? Yeah, I have to read that. I think Divine Reality also has a section on it, right? Maybe. Divine Reality. There's the whole. There's obviously like the Aqidah discussion of but I don't think that might be a little bit too much for you guys right now. Between like the whole what the Ash'ari and Maturidiyya say regarding like Allah Ta'ala. Obviously, Allah Ta'ala allows people to do things, and then how exactly is it that man is able to um, act upon that? And that's a whole discussion that I'd like us. I don't think we should get into that right now. That and there's like the Sufi explanation. There's also that who is that in that one visiting scholar who came from the Sapiens Institute? Sapiens. The author of Divine Reality, Hamza Zwitzis. So he has like his team, right? So there was that one of his team members, one of his like main team members actually. He came to DS, right? Was that during your guys' first year? He had like a 2 3 day thing. He had like a 2 3 day like lecture, like seminar days of with us, and we discussed these topics. One thing that he mentioned was that like obviously like when if we look at it from ourselves, even if you're asking a non-Muslim, then they'll tell you that they have free will, correct? That they'll tell you that yeah, I make my own choices and I'm liable for those choices, right? It's not like I can just punch someone and just be like God made me do it, right? No one's gonna buy that. And but then at the same time, we know that Allah Taala has full power over every single thing, including us. So then one thing that this I'm forgetting his name, but he said that it could possibly be that this is a very like an emotional thing almost. That Allah Ta'ala is telling us that not that He controls you and everything in the sense of, to make it like a big aqidah mystery, but more to be like, don't worry about things that aren't in your control. I'm gonna take care of that. That's what like Allah Ta'ala is saying that all these things that you're so worried about, don't be worried about those things. I take care of that. You make sure that you're have the correct belief, make sure you're doing all the correct amal, and then watch how I will provide for you. Watch how I'll make your life better. Watch how I grant you happiness and all sorts of these different things. Which I really liked how you said it. But maybe we can go a bit more detail into the actual discussion at some other time, inshallah. Okay, so this is where we had translated to وما يغني عنه ماله إذا تردى. Down. وما يغني عنه ماله إذا تردى. And okay, so this ma, okay, let's translate it first. And his wealth shall not avail him. وَمَا يُغْنِي عَنْهُ مَالُهُ إِذَا تَرَدَّى. When he taradda, it could have multiple different meanings. So let's just go through these ma'ani first. Over here, he translated as وَمَا يُغْنِي عَنْهُ مَالُهُ إِذَا تَرَدَّى. And his wealth will not avail him when he falls into the hellfire. Okay? إِذَا تَرَدَّى. Taradda means to fall. But now there's four different interpretations as to what exactly is this taraddi happening into. One of them, as we just saw, is Jahannam. That's actually the third thing that he mentions. تردى أي هلك فهو مشتق من الردي وهو الموت. وما يغني عنه ماله إذا تردى. and his wealth shall not help him. It won't avail him when he dies. إذا تراد, when he falls into this like this, I guess as a metaphor, he falls into death. He falls into this pit of death. Nothing's going to save him at that. When obviously, of course, every single individual is going to die. His wealth's not going to help him at that moment. The second opinion is أو تردى أي سقط في القبر. When he's placed into his grave, his money is not going to help him there. Okay, very very similar to the first one. The third one, so سقط في جهنم, he falls into the hellfire. When Allah Taala casts him into the hellfire, his wealth should not save him there. So we have maut, qabr, jahannam, أو تردى بأكفانه من الرداء. So تردى coming from the word rida. Rida is the white shrouds that you put on the dead body. When he's when he falls into that, when he's made to wear his kafan to be before he's buried into his grave, that's what's being referred to here. That his wealth and his all the dunya that he had won't save him. So we have maut, qabr, jahannam, and his kafan, basically. وما يغني عنه ماله إذا تردى إن علينا للهدى أي بيان الخير والشر, that our responsibility is huda, is hidayah. Okay. بيان الخير والشر, not necessarily taking each person and actually putting them on the right path. As we see, that's not the case. Allah Ta'ala, He allows that some people go, that people choose iman and some people choose kufr. Okay, but this is inna alayna lal huda. Our responsibility is to explain to you all through our sharia what is khair and what is shar, what is good for you, what is bad for you, what is the correct what is the haqq, what is the batil. Okay, بيان الخير والشر وليس المراد بالإرشاد عند الأشعرية خلافا للمعتزلة. Okay, so that's what I said over there. فأنذرتكم نارا تلظى. Okay, فأنذرت, this to, the fa'al here being Allah Ta'ala. That I, Allah Ta'ala, have anzara, yunziru, inzar, have warned you all. Anzartukum. I, Allah Ta'ala, have warned you all of naran taladha, naran, of a fire, taladha, a tataladha, bima'na tatawaqqada, like blazing, it's heating up, it's scorching, its fire is reaching the ceiling. Okay, it's very, very tall. But I've warned you of this blazing fire. So مخاطبة من الله أو من النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم على تقديري قل. Or it could be in parenthesis, or in the taqdeer, the hidden is قل فأنذرتكم نارا تلظى. That Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam is being commanded to say that I have warned you of this blazing fire. لا يصلاها إلا الأشقى الذي كذب وتولى. Let's save this ayah for the end. Okay. لا يصلاها, I'll translate it for now. That none shall enter it. لا يدخلها إلا الأشقى, except for the wretched, except for the most shaqi. Actually, let's just go through it. Okay. استدل المرجئة بهذه الآية على أن النار لا يدخلها إلا الكفار لقوله الذي كذب وتولى. So none, لا يصلاها إلا الأشقى, none shall enter it except for the most shaqi, the most wretched. الذي كذب وتولى, describing the shaqi, Allah Ta'ala says الذي كذب وتولى, the one who belied, he denied the claim of prophethood, and he denied Islam, he denied Iman. وتولى عن الإيمان, أي الذي كذب النبي وتولى عن الإيمان. This is what Jalalain says. وهذا الحصر مؤول. So now, the ishkal is, this is what the Murji'ah, which is a sect, um, they they claim from this ayah, they try to use as proof, as saying that, hey, look, a Muslim, no matter what sin he does, he will never enter the fire. Why? Because he's still a Muslim, obviously. We're not talking about the kafir. And Allah Ta'ala says, الذي كذب وتولى. The Muslim is not doing this. The Muslim, although he's sinning, he still accepts Islam, right? He still accepts that Allah Ta'ala is one and that Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is the final prophet. He doesn't fall under this ayah. So from this ayah, we could deduce that um, there's not going to be a Muslim ever that's going to enter into Jahannam. So now that's their claim. So that's what they claim. Does the ishkal make sense? You guys see where they're getting that from? لا يصلها, none shall enter it إلا الأشقى, except for the most wretched of people who actually denied Islam and they turned away from Iman. Okay, that's their claim. وت- وتأولها الناس بثلاثة أوجه. So now there's three different jawabs we could give here. The first is being that أن المعنى لا يصلاها صلى خلود إلا الأشقى, that لا يصلها إلا الأشقى, meaning that no one will enter it forever. No one will enter it forever إلا الأشقى. So now you're saying, a person could make the ishkal on that, saying that, okay, you're just adding your own words from your own side. Where is that coming from? From the lugha. Give me a second. Let me see if it, just something coming to my mind right now, which is, let me just see if it works. Yes, actually. Okay, so there's a qaida of al-mutlaq or al-lafzu إذا أطلق يراد به الفرد الكامل. This is just randomly coming to. I didn't read this anywhere, so hopefully this still does apply. But when you use a word, like when Allah Ta'ala says free a slave or slaughter a, or when the command is given of like slaughter a lamb or something, right? You're not gonna find the most dingy, disgusting lamb that has like like it's impaired and it has deformities and stuff, right? You're gonna find at least an average lamb, correct? It has all of its limbs. It has okay. So اللفظ إذا أطلق يراد به الفرد الكامل. When a word is used just in a general sense, what's intended is the a complete form of that word. So لا يصلها إلا الأشقى. So for a one to enter into something, would that really for someone to completely enter into the hellfire? And we know from all the other ayat that the person who actually well, okay, for someone to enter into the fire, that would intend that this is going to be for khulud. When a person enters into the Jahannam, it's not like la yaslaha doesn't automatically necessitate a time limit, is my point, right? It's not like there's a time limit that's intrinsically part of the meaning of the word. So because la yaslaha is being used, we could say that it's meant as al-fard al-kamil, which is that this person won't be getting out. And we know from numerous ahadith and from I'm sure there's other ayat in the Quran that I can't recall right now. وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ لِمَن يَشَاءُ. Oh yeah, this is his Jalalain. He mentions this that Allah Taala forgives anything other than shirk, right? And He allows people who have even the tiniest iota of iman in their hearts, He allows them to enter into Jannah, right? So from all of these, we could deduce that this is la yaslaha ila al-ashqa is referring to the khulud, is referring to the that they'll be in it for eternity. Okay, so that's number one. Okay, so let me just say that one more time. And al-ma'na la yaslaha salya khuludin illa ashqa. None shall enter it forever, for eternity, except for the ashqa. Okay, so I hope that made sense. If that didn't make sense, it's not a big deal. Just some random thought that just came to my head right now. والآخر أنه أراد نارا مخصوصة. That what's being intended here is لا يصلها لا يصل النار. That this نار طلب, I guess. None shall enter into this specific fire except for the shaqi. Okay? None shall enter into this specific fire except for the most wretched. So that wouldn't negate the whole concept of Muslims who have sins entering into the hellfire. والثالث أنه أراد بالأشقى كافرا معينا. What could be intended by al-ashqa, alif lam, is being used for a specific individual, right? Like when you say rajulun, it's a man, ar-rajulu is the man. So al-ashqa is referring to the most wretched person. So أنه أراد بالأشقى كافرا معينا. Perhaps it's referring to an actual specific individual. Sorry to interrupt, but I have. Yeah, no problem. Go ahead, bud. Assalamu alaikum. So نانش كافرا معينا أو وهو أبو جهل أو أمية بن خلف. Um, okay, so it could be referring to an actual specific individual who was considered as the most wretched during the time of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, for example. So now none of those three would necessitate that a Muslim is not going to enter into the fire for their sins. Does that make sense? Okay. الأشقى كافر معين وهو أبو جهل وأمية بن خلف. Perhaps these two individuals, Abu Jahl, okay, and Umayyah ibn Khalaf. وقابل به الأتقى. That's going to come up in a bit, which is referring to Abu Bakr as-Siddiq رضي الله تعالى عنه, which we'll talk when we get there إن شاء الله. مخرج الكلام مخرج المدح والذم على الخصوص لا مخرج الإخبار على الأمور. Okay. Um, الذي كذب وتولى وسيجنبها الأتقى الذي يؤتي ماله يتزكى. وسيجنبها الأتقى. And we will um, يبعد عنها. We will remove the atqa. We will keep him safe. We'll keep him very far away. يبعد عنها الأتقى, the most pious, the person with the most taqwa. بمعنى التقي الذي يؤتي ماله يتزكى, the one who gave his wealth, يؤتي ماله يتزكى, so that he can become purified, so that he can become purified. So متزكيا به عند الله تعالى, so that he can become pure in the sight of Allah Ta'ala, بأن يخرجه لله تعالى لا رياء ولا سمعة, that he's not giving his wealth out of like as like a show of praise. He's not doing it to get praise from people or to like show off. He's only doing it for Allah Ta'ala. فيكون زاكيا عند الله. So for this reason, because he's giving his wealth solely for Allah Ta'ala, this person becomes pure, يتزكى. وهذا نزل في الصديق رضي الله تعالى عنه. And this ayah is referring to أبو بكر الصديق رضي الله تعالى عنه لما اشترى بلالا المعذب على إيمانه وأعتقه. When he bought Bilal رضي الله تعالى عنه from سيجنبها الأتقى. Where did he buy it? Who did he buy it from? Umayyah ibn Khalaf. When he bought him from Umayyah ibn Khalaf, and he freed him. Okay, and he only bought him, and he bought him for like a ridiculous price just so that he could free him. So over here he says, روي أن بلال رضي الله تعالى عنه كان عبدا مملوكا لأمية بن خلف وكان سيده يعذبه لإسلامه. So Umayyah ibn Khalaf, he owned Bilal رضي الله تعالى عنه, and he would punish him because he was a Muslim. ويخرجه إذا حميت الشمس فيطرحه على ظهره ببطحاء مكة. And then he would, what would he do? I'm sure you guys are familiar with this story, right? He would throw him on like that when the sun was like at the peak and it was like the sand was burning hot. He would throw him on the sand. He would put like large rocks on him to crush him, and then he would say that you'll continue to be in the state of being crushed by a rock on one side and being on this burning hot sand on the other side of your body. You'll either die or you're gonna have to say verbally that you disbelieve in the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فيقول وهو في تلك الحالة, and while he was in this situation, what would he say? أحد أحد. Right? فمر به أبو بكر الصديق وهم يصنعون به ذلك. Abu Bakr Siddiq passed by them, and he saw what they were doing. فقال لأمية, then he said to Umayyah, ألا تتقي الله في هذا المسكين? Aren't you going to have some fear of Allah Ta'ala in regards to this poor man? فقال له أنت أفسدته علي فأنقذه مما ترى. So you're the one, you people, you Muslims are the one who made him bad merchandise. You guys are the ones who you ruined my slave. Why are you guys getting upset? You're the ones who just completely changed this the way Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu is. فاشتراه أبو بكر منه وأعتقه في سبيل الله. Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, he bought him and he freed him. فقال المشركون إنما أعتقه ليد كانت له عنده. Then because they saw that he had freed him, they started saying that, oh, he probably only bought Bilal radiallahu ta'ala anhu because he owed Bilal a favor. He owed him a favor. So what did he say? What is then these ayahs are revealed. فنزلت وما لأحد عنده من نعمة تجزى إلا ابتغاء وجه ربه الأعلى ولسوف يرضى. So let's just get into that real quick. الذي يؤتي وما لأحد عنده من نعمة تجزى, and no one has a ni'mah, like no one can repay him back for what he just did right there. Okay. What ayah number is that? وما لأحد, ayah number 19, and confers no favor upon anyone for any compensation. Okay, this individual الذي يؤتي ماله يتزكى وما لأحد عنده من نعمة تجزى, he doesn't even seek a payment back for the good deeds, the righteous work that he is doing. Okay, وما لأحد عنده من نعمة تجزى إلا ابتغاء وجه ربه الأعلى, except he is seeking the quote unquote face of his Lord, the Most High, al-A'la. Okay, he's seeking the pleasure of his Lord, the Most High. وَلَسَوْفَ يَرْضَى, and for this he shall most surely be well pleased in the hereafter. He shall be well pleased in the hereafter. Mm, Anything else? I feel like I'm missing one thing regarding this last part. إِلَّا ابْتِغَاءَ, perhaps it was over there. لا يفل خير جزاء على نعمة أن نعم بها عليه أحد فيما تقدم بل يفعله ابتداء خالصا لوجه الله. No one can repay him back for these favors that he's doing because and the only reason he's doing them is because of seeking the pleasure of Allah Ta'ala. Okay, yeah, we can stop there. وعدا بأن يرضيه الله في الآخرة. So this is just a promise from Allah Ta'ala that He will be happy with him, with Abu Bakr as-Siddiq in the Akhirah. One, that's like the syllogism I guess he had given here was that قال ابن الجوزي أجمعوا على أنها نزلت في أبي بكر لما اشترى بلالا المعذب على إيمانه. So Ibn Jawzi, he says that there's ijma' that like all the Mufassirin agree that this ayah is revealed regarding Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Okay, which is crazy because Abu Bakr as-Siddiq, like he has confirmation now from Allah Ta'ala that he is al-atqa, right? Which is subhanAllah, just shows the amazing status of Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu. Then he says, كان يعذب مولاه أمية بن خلف على إيمانه فقال, where is it at? Um, فيها تصريح بأنه أتقى من سائر الأمة. So in this ayah, we see very clearly, it's very, very explicitly saying that Abu Bakr as-Siddiq is al-atqa. وَالْأَتْقَى هُوَ الْأَكْرَمُ. And the person who is atqa, the person who has the most taqwa, he's also al-akram. He's also the most noble. Why is he the most noble? Because Allah Ta'ala says, إِنَّ أَكْرَمَكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. The most noble of you, according to in the sight of Allah Ta'ala, are those who are the most righteous, the one who had the most taqwa. وَالْأَكْرَمُ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ هُوَ الْأَفْضَلُ. Meaning that those individuals who have the most taqwa are the most noble. And those individuals who are the most noble to Allah Ta'ala are the most virtuous, they're the most beloved, correct? So if Abu Bakr Siddiq is al-atqa, that means he's, according to the other ayah, he's also al-akram. He's also the most noble. And if he's the most noble, then that means he's also the most beloved and the most virtuous. So that means that he is al-afdal min sa'ir al-umam. Min sa'ir al-ummah. So meaning that Abu Bakr Siddiq is the best human being that has walked the earth after all of the prophets. If that makes sense? Okay, it's 9:02. Unless there's any questions, we could stop here. I only got through, I said there's four things we got to go through. We only went through two. So, tajalliyat, tajalliyat. So that's like a short version. I guess we can go through the long version next time, inshallah. But the short version is like it's like a Sufi term of like basically they also use it for when the sheikh he focuses on the murid and he basically you can say it's like khas du'as coming from the sheikh to the murid, and because like the sheikh, if he's like a legit sheikh and everything, he's also he's already been through, he also is like mustajab dawat, let's say. So he's making dua to Allah Ta'ala regarding this specific person, and then it's like the nur and the faid and all these sorts of things are flowing down into the heart of an individual. So now of course when Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is with in the proximity of Allah Ta'ala, quote unquote, of course, then like the ruhani vibes, I guess we would say, like for us, is just like is out of this world, right? So it's like that would I guess be like the tajalli that's going on over there. But that's obviously not a technical answer at all. So I could see what maybe if there's like a definition that. Oh, no, no, no. I think when it's used in that context, I'm sure it's meant in like a Sufi term of a person being able to just get like a lot of ruhani benefit from you normally another person, but of course from Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam, like directly from Allah Ta'ala. That's that. Tajalli. Yeah. If there's no other questions, we could stop here. Inshallah, next class we could first go over what you had just asked right now, and then we'll go over the connection between this surah and the previous surah. We could talk about the whole transgender stuff, inshallah. Okay. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum. Sorry for the delay again. My fault about that. Alaikum salam.